Welcome to this week's Community Update. I'm Brooklyn Kaufman, and here with me today is Superintendent Dr. Joanne Fay. Welcome again.
Thank you for having me again.
So let's go ahead and jump right in and have you explain why students now have Friday off.
Well, lots of things happening all at once on Friday. And so number one is we are just coming off the pandemic, and Midlothian ISD has almost 100% of our students back in a face-to-face environment. Matter of fact, we only have, I think, 14 to 15 students that actually selected to do a virtual. And in the past, prior to the pandemic, we've been able to fill our substitute rates at about 90%, which is actually really, really high. But since the pandemic, I think just like everyone, we've been experiencing people that are they're still scared. And so our fill rates have not been as high as they were prior to the pandemic. And so our fill rates for subs have been at about 70%. This Friday is a little bit of an anomaly though. We have obviously Thanksgiving break coming up, and we have 18 of our student programs that are going to be out and about beginning at about 11 o'clock. So we have both of our football programs, and when you take football programs out of high schools, you're also taking band programs and color guard programs and the dance program and cheer programs. And along with that comes all of their teachers and their sponsors. And then we also, as a district, put bus monitors that are also teachers on the buses to travel. But we also have almost every level of basketball. So 9th grade, JV, and varsity girls and boys basketball in tournaments this weekend. We have, I believe, swimming in competing this weekend. We have our theater that are going out of town as well. And so we just have a lot going on, and it kind of all hit at once. So we were going to be looking at not having enough staff at all to cover any classes. So we also share a lot of our coaching staff are actually teachers and coaches at other locations. So some of them are coaches and teachers at elementaries and middle schools, and so it was going to impact them. And then along with that comes, we're a family environment, so we have a lot of spouses that work together, and a lot of those are coaches. And so once we put all the data together, and we had already had certain campuses that were already experiencing a lot of absences even before we put all that data together, and so we weren't going to be able to provide adequate supervision at all to students. And so in addition to that though, because we're going so far out of town, it takes a lot of buses to transport kids and Suburbans to transport teens and adults, and we weren't going to be able to get our kids home from school. So we made that decision, and it, there are some families that are not happy with that, and I'm so apologetic, and we're looking at ways to support that. But we do have the YMCA that's providing some support to that. And I know that we just had a compliment from a community member that will be paying for pizza for the staff that is coming into work on Friday and the students that actually will be here and taking advantage of the Y program. So, and that's Mr. Jim Minsel actually is going to be doing that for us. So not an easy decision to make, but I do feel that it was the right one to make so that we can make sure that our kids are safe, and when we are not able to provide adequate support to them and supervision to them, sometimes we have to make that tough call.
Let's go ahead and talk about the board meeting this week. The board honored current MISD employees with the largest bonus they've ever received.
Yeah, I was really excited about that since it's my first superintendency role. But yeah, they had approved in the budget up to a certain amount early on in the year. But Mr. Jim Norris, who's a phenomenal CFO for the system, and he's been phenomenal for the community for a long period of time, he was able to secure $1,500 for professional staff, and I believe $750 for auxiliary staff. And so it's a nice way to retain employees and say thank you, because staff is working really hard.
Yeah, for sure. I know y'all also approved an agreement with Tarleton University. I know a lot of our students end up going there. What exactly does this agreement provide?
So we had talked about it in our last update that we had taken that item of information to our board, and we're so fortunate because they did approve it, and that means that the top 33% of the students of Midlothian ISD will be automatically accepted into Tarleton State, which is part of the Texas A&M system. And that's exciting. I mean, they're one of the fastest growing schools in that system. And it's really good for our kids that they recognize that students from MISD are excellent, and they want lots of them, and we want lots of them to go. And so I believe they're also waiving the application fee and waiving certain test requirements and things like that. So it's a win-win, and we're excited for that partnership, and we're hoping to grow that partnership even more in the future. And so President Hurley's been an outstanding partner to me since I've walked in the door, and we're just excited about it.
Yeah, that is super exciting. I know you went to some of the veterans' assemblies last week and that you are a military spouse and daughter. Tell us your impressions.
So my husband was in the Army for 6 years, and he was part of the 1st to Fight Division out of Fort Stewart, Georgia, which was 24th ID, and that was an exciting time. I didn't have children at the time, though, so I can't imagine being a spouse to a military member with a family. So I've always really valued the military and what they do for our country. And then, of course, my dad was a Marine. He might be the only Marine that went through the Marines, and he still is not able to swim. So I'm not really sure how that worked out. But an interesting story is I have never experienced Veterans Day the way that I experienced it on that day. And in particular, every campus was magnificent that I went to. And I didn't make them all because there's a lot. But I did go to Walnut Grove because I had heard about the magnitude. And when I went there, it was incredible. They had so many of our veterans lined up on the gym floor, and the respect that our students in the grades of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade showed our veterans was just incredible. They called them all out by name. They recognized them by their service, like Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, and it was just exciting. And so I'm very proud to be part of that. I remember talking to, I believe, you about why I came here, and part of that was the values and the what I see in kids just within the community, and it's that respect that our kids demonstrate. And I saw that day, and it was just so exciting. In particular, though, they called out the name of a World War II veteran. And in my bucket list of things, I've always said that if I could, if you could have dinner or talk to someone on a bench, and anyone in the world, who would it be with? And I've always wanted to talk to someone who's a World War II vet, in particular someone who served in Japan. And that day, they announced Chief John Boswell, and World War II vet. And so upon leaving, I reached out to the campus principal and vice principal, and I just asked them to get me his name and number. I was going to connect with him at the next setting for dessert, which was going to be at Dietrich Middle School. He ended up not being able to go, and I said, well, that's okay. I'll just try to connect with him at lunch the next week. Anyway, we weren't able to connect that day, so I invited him to lunch, and I spent 2 hours with him for lunch, and it was one of the most magical moments probably in my life, is to hear about the commitment and courage that a young boy at the age of 17 had when he heard about Pearl Harbor being bombed. At the age of 17, just decided to enlist in the military because he felt such patriotism for his country. You don't get to meet people like him, and it was pretty incredible moment. And so I am very proud of our veterans, and I'm very proud of our community, and in particular, I'm very proud of how our students showed such great respect to our military on that day. And I'm even more proud that I got to sit with a World War II veteran who had such courage and was so committed to his country.
Yeah, for sure. Finally, Dr. Fay, it is the Thanksgiving season, and so I really want to know, what are you thankful for this year?
I am thankful for you, Brooklyn. Thank you. I know that it must have been kind of daunting to have to be given the job of interviewing the superintendent every month, but thank you, you've done a great job. I'm thankful for the community of Midlothian. I'm thankful for all the students, even though we have lots of challenges. That is not unique to our district or our community. I'm thankful for my family, my daughter, who is a Panther. I'm thankful to my husband for supporting me. I'm thankful to my dad and my mom for raising me with great values.
That's all the time we have for you today. Thank you so much, Dr. Fay. Please have a safe and restful Thanksgiving week, and check back in 2 weeks for another edition of our Community Update.
Thank you.